Welcome to the new Southern League preview show. We're back. Unfortunately, of course, Steve is unwell and can't join us. Which everybody here on the show wishes Steve all the very, very best and get well soon, my friend. And hopefully, you'll be back joining me presenting this show in the very, very near future. And sending all our love and best wishes to you and, of course, to your family as well. But this is going to be a little bit of a different preview show to how we normally have done it previously before. We've got a few interviews for you, games of the week. There's a couple of games of the week this week, and we've decided to have a couple of interviews with the managers and fans of those clubs as well. So you'll get to see them later on in the show as well. They'll come and join us. And of course, we'll go through the fixtures as we've always done on this show, and we'll go through all the games involving all the Southern League clubs this weekend. And so let's get started. And first of all, we'll look at the Premier Central Division. Well, of course, with the Premier Central Division this week, it's AFC Rushden and Diamonds. They're at home to Stourbridge, and of course, it's 21st in the league, position 21 in the league, AFC Rushden and Diamonds against position 16, Stourbridge, and of course, that's going to be played at the Hayden Road Sports Ground this coming Saturday. Also, this week, Bashford United in 8th. They take on Rushall Olympic in 6th. Bromsgrove Sporting in 11th. They'll take on Nuneaton Borough in 2nd, who are absolutely flying at the moment. So a tough game there for Bromsgrove Sporting this week. Ilkeston Town in 13th. They take on 14th place Barwell. Mickleover Sports, who are in 5th position. They take on Stratford Town in 17th. Royston Town, of course, at the Garden Walk Stadium. They're in 15th. And they take on, of course, Hitching Town, who, of course, are in 10th. And finally, in the Premier Central this week, it's St Ives Town. They're in 12th. And they take on the guys from Needham Market, who are in 9th, of course, who had a fantastic FA Cup run this year as well. So that's going to be a tough game for St Ives and also a tough game for Needham Market going up there to St Ives. Well, in the Premier South Division this week, at the Privet Park Stadium, of course, the home of Gosport Borough. They are sitting in 18th at the moment in the Premier South. They take on the high-flying Chesham United, who are in 3rd. Hayes and Yedding having a bit of an off-season so far this season. They're in 14th, and they take on Hartley Whitney in 19th. Northfleet, of course, have lost their manager during the week. They're in 22nd place. They take on Hendon, who've come back from a fantastic win this week. They're in 21st. Salisbury, they're in 11th, and they're at home to Yate Town, who are in 20th. Again, Yate Town had a fantastic win midweek. Let's see if they can carry that on going to Salisbury. And at the Lady Mead Stadium, Tiverton Town, who are in 7th. They take on the mighty Merthyr Town in 14th. And then we've got Truro City, who, of course, are high-flying and sitting top of the Premier South Division. They take on Winchester City, who are in 15th. And then one of the games that you're going to see us preview later on in the show, Western Supermare, they're sitting in 2nd. And, of course, they're going to be taking on Poole Town in 4th place. Also, as well, coming away from the league this week, we've got FA Trophy games as well this week. So let's have a quick look and see who our teams are going to be playing in the FA Trophy this week. Well, we've got Beaconsfield. They'll be taking on the Isthmian Premier Division side Folkestone and Victor. Chelmsford City, of course, the conquerors of Romford from the Essex Senior League. They take on Redditch United. Concord Rangers, they take on Harrow Borough and Steve Baker's side down there. Hanwell Town, probably one of the best grass pitches in the Southern League. They take on Slough Town. Kings Langley, they take on AFC Telford United. Leiston, they take on high-flying Alvechurch, who, of course, have got their minds on this competition. And, of course, next weekend, they'll have their minds firmly fixed on a trip to Forest Green Rovers in the FA Cup. Oxford City, they play hosts to Plymouth Parkway. Quite a journey for Plymouth Parkway in that game. Swindon Supermarine, they take on Dartford. Tamworth, they take on Boston United. Tavistock AFC, they take on Hungerford Town. And Tonbridge Angels take on Bracknell Town. In the South Division 1 this week at the Kate Lane, it's Bishop's Cleeve who sit in 15th. They take on Wimborne Town in 10th. Bristol Manor Farm in 17th. They take on Melscombe Town in 13th. At the Causeway Ground, of course, it's Cinderford Town in 14th. They take on 9th place AFC Totton. Exmouth Town in 6th. They take on the team just below them in the table in 7th in Bashley. Frome Town in 2nd. They take on Slimbridge in 18th. Hamworthy United in 5th. They take on Porton Rovers. Lymington Town in 20th. They take on just above them Larkwell Athletic. Sholing, who sit top of the in the South Division 1. They take on Willand Rovers, who sit in 8th. And Westbury United in 12th. Well, they take on 16th place at Bidford. In the division, that's quite close to where I am at the moment. So in the Central Division, we have AFC Dunstable in 6th. They take on Welwyn Garden City in 8th. Aylesbury United at the Meadow in 19th place take on my local side, Waltham Abbey, who sit in 9th. Biggleswade in 3rd take on Kidlington in 5th. Biggleswade Town at the Carlsberg Stadium in 11th take on FC Romania, who sit in 17th. Cirencester, who have had a fantastic run from being in that bottom part of the South Central and now up to 10th. They take on Hertford Town, who are in 13th. Didcot, who sit in 4th. They take on Harlow Town, who are in 14th. Hadley, who are in 15th. They take on Barton Rovers, who are 20th. Kempston Rovers, who sit 7th. They take on Tame United, who are in 16th. Walthamstow, who sit in 12th. Take on Highworthy Town in 18th. And the game, probably the game of the weekend in the Southern League for me, Ware, who sit in 2nd, take on Berkhamsted, who are in 1st. And of course, that could be very close to being either a 10-point lead, it could stay at a 7-point lead, or it could be dropping down to a 4-point lead, of course, as they go to play each other at the weekend. And you can see an interview that we've done, or that we're going to do, with Paul Housley and Chris Devane, Berkhamsted, and from Ware. And we'll show you that right now. On the Southern League preview show, we're lucky to be joined by what has got to be one of the main games of the weekend, if not the top game of the weekend. And of course, that's in the Division 1 Central, and that's between top of the table, Berkhamsted. And I'll say this quietly because he's listening, but running away with it a little bit at the minute. And of course, then to my right, Paul Housley, who of course I speak to every single week from Ware, sitting there in second. And guys, the game at the weekend is going to be a great game, isn't it, between two quality sides? Chris?
Yeah. Listen, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a game, obviously, that you sort of check off at the start of the season to see when it is. I think it's between, probably quite a lot of, people's opinions in two of the favourites for promotion and stuff. And we're definitely pre-season, I'd say us two were the two, the majority of people would have picked. Obviously, listen, the league table is what it is at the minute. It's, again, we're in mid-November, so, I wouldn't be focusing much on that, but it's definitely one of the games I'm always looking forward to. I mean, it was a cracker last year. I think it was 3-3. I think we equalised last minute, and there was 2 or 3 cracking goals during the game. So it's always a good one. I'd probably expect goals and maybe a couple of red cards if history's to repeat itself. So as long as I don't have to wear
and that would just be me and Chris.
As long as I don't have to wear molded studs with my jeans and jumper this year, we'll be all right.
Unfortunately, I think you do.
But in all fairness, I mean, your game though at the weekend though, Chris. I mean, if you get to the result that you want at the weekend, it puts you 10 points in front of Paul's boys, and things are looking quite good for you.
Yeah, of course. And listen, it'd be a cliche to say no one looks at it, no one checks it. But on the flip side, if the result, which could easily happen, if the result goes Paul's way, it's a completely different table. And I mean, there's only 16 games gone after Saturday. I mean, you're talking there's 22 left. There's 66 points to play for. All of a sudden, 10 becomes nothing, or 4 becomes nothing. I mean, if you look at the last 6 games, we've gained 9 points on Ware. So, I mean, you could turn that round in December last year, where we dropped you know, we lost 9 points to Bedford. It can happen overnight. So I wouldn't be looking too much in that. Again, it's, you know, for us, it's about momentum. It's about listen. I can't deny our form's been really, you know, really strong. We've won 10 on a trot. And I think in any league, if you do that, you're going to find yourself with a league behind you, because I think obviously that's difficult to keep up with. But if you look at our fixtures, I mean, I think they've been favourable, especially November with the home games. And I think getting to play Didcot, Kidlington, Highworth, Harlow, Walthamstow, Waltham Abbey, all away early on in the season has been quite fortunate. I mean, you don't really want to be going Kidlington in January when it's really soft, and Didcot vice versa. So these are games we've sort of ticked off and got good results at. And then if you look at where the table's sort of settling now, whilst 6 weeks ago it didn't look like it, we've, apart from Ware and Dunstable, you know, we've played 7 out of the top 10, and 5 of them have been away. So listen, there's a good feel around the place at the minute. I mean, you know, why wouldn't there be when you're winning the games that you are? But we're under no illusions. You know, we started exactly the same last year up to 2 games ago. And we all know what happened last year in the end of the league. We lost it by 8 points in the end. So there's and listen, it might be a positive for us that I've been through that and I've understood now that, you know, for not 1 minute in this league, you can drop your guard. I mean, Paul will probably agree. There's not many top 5 or 6 teams at the minute that will lose to Romania, and that's the only game we've lost this year. So if at any point you're not fully focused or you're not at it, it's a real tough league and you'll get punished. So there's no overexcitement for us at all.
Paul, I mean, how do you go about a team that's as you said yourself when we've spoken, you've had a bit of an up and down time of it lately, and you're going up against a team that is in real top form at the moment, so it's going to be tough for you guys as well, isn't it? And probably more important for you to win the game maybe than what Chris at Berkhamsted did as well.
You know my views, Dave. I've always said that the most consistent team will probably go and win the league, and at the moment, Berkhamsted are the most consistent team. So, like they said, like Chris Burko, they got out and got away with the win. There's something we can do. And I said Sunday, I'm not going to blame the pitch. He's right what he says about the pitch, but it ain't safe. That needs to be addressed before someone does get injured. But, like I said Sunday, I will get my boys up for it. I'm hoping that I got some positive signs from the physio. So hopefully we may be full strength Saturday. So, like he said, it's always a tough game. It's always a niggly game. The odd red card here and there. But listen, he's focused. Chris is focused on what he wants to do. And they've started very, very well. We've 4 games that we shouldn't really, really lose, in my opinion. But it's happened. We're not happy about it, but it's still a long way to go, and it starts again for us on Saturday. So let's be honest. If we're honest, I can't afford to lose the game Saturday. Chris, a little bit of breathing space, but I also know that he would want to be taking that 10 points clear into the next game. But like you said, there's a long way to go. Like I said, and I've said it before, there's too many teams in this league that will beat each other. And I said that Cirencester are starting to fire all cylinders. And teams like the local derbies, for us, your Abbeys, your Hertfords, and teams like that they will fight against, because they're derbies, Romania, etc., etc. So, I'll be honest, we sat down last night. We've had a good talk, and we've addressed where we might have gone wrong, i.e. on Saturday, and we've got to put that right. So, and it will start on Saturday. So, listen, I expect it to be a big crowd, a very, very competitive game. Chris will have to put his moulds on and buy me a beer after. Simple as.
But I'm not expecting you to say, because you're face to face with each other as such, but do you actually look at it and, Chris, from yourself to wherever you've seen different bits, and when you maybe have had Ware scouted so far this year, have you seen different things this year from last year of how to possibly beat them, and vice versa? Paul, when you've had Berkhamsted sort of scouted, have you seen other that you would? that's a bit new.
We've already, to be fair, we've already played on once, haven't we? So, but you got to remember, Chris is like the Pep is Man City and signing everyone, isn't he? So, but no, listen, I think me and Chris are quite sensible, level-headed. We know how each other plays. We know what sort of game it's going to be, and it's just a case of the battle of the wills, really, who performs on the day, and that's exactly what it'll be with us. It'll be a competitive game. I don't think I've ever played Chris in any game where either one of us have run away with it. It's always been quite a close game, and I'd go back to when I've played Berkhamsted on many occasions. It's always been a close game. Chris is chairman of Steve will tell you that. So I expect it to be a close game, very competitive. One thing is we'll have a beer after.
Agree, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, we went down the sort of scouting other teams route quite a lot last year, and we found ourselves sort of overthinking opponents and over planning against certain teams, and what we ended up doing was sort of taking the focus from ourselves, from our own performance, and how we can improve away from. And we've sort of got a mantra or a plan this year that if we try and perfect our style and our formation, and we've got one shape which we practice and sort of we try and perfect, and if we get that right, then I'm confident that that we might have enough to compete against anyone in this division. And it's been difficult the last. And that's why the run's been so surprising. I mean, I've had one fit sub for 5 of those wins. I've had my vice captain Connors. He's been out with ribs. I've lost a goalkeeper for 8 weeks. I've not had Linton Gospel in 7 weeks, and he's got 5 weeks off, and he's my only rule number 9 at the club. I've only got 17 fit players. I've only used 21 all year now. But what I will do, and I feel it's important that if I do lose a player in a position, I won't wait 2 or 3 weeks and potentially lose sort of 6 to 9 points if we do drop points in games where I leave myself short or I haven't got a 9. And we're just trying to be a bit more proactive rather than reactive with the recruitment this year. And if it means that 2 or 3 are not on the bench on Saturday, then then so be it. It's our sole goal is to be successful this year. And I feel and that's why we train as much as possible. They're in last night, they're in tomorrow, and it's about can we perfect our style, and it's a bit like dying our sword. I mean, if you take Hadley last Saturday, for example, we had 10 men at half time and we were losing 1-0. Quite a lot of teams and maybe managements would maybe sort of shut the doors a bit and a bit of damage limitation. Well, we've gone the other way and took 2 defenders off and put a forward on, and at the minute I'd rather lose 4-0 than not give it a go, and it worked out for us. So listen, I'm not naive enough to believe it. There's some really, really top teams in this league, Ware being the main one, and I think there were quite, if we're honest, Paul, I think quite a lot of the experts' favourites probably in the summer, and I'm not naive enough to think we're going to carry on this run. It's going to come crashing down very soon, and it's about sort of staying grounded and listen, if it happened to if it's Saturday that our run stops, then it's been a brilliant run. We rebuild against Didcot Tuesday. But if not, and we're successful Saturday, then our mantra doesn't change. Our training routines don't change. Our style of play don't change. It's full focus on getting us right. So,
was that one of the things you learned though from last year about replacing sort of players that are out quickly this time rather than maybe not last year? Is that something that you learned, or did you do that last year as well? When someone
I learned that quickly. I mean, it took me 12 months, and I think the issue last year, I think because we started so well, I think we won 9 out of the first 10 and drew 1. And if I'm honest, my ego got got a bit carried away a bit. It was my first year at the level completely, and I'm not saying I thought that this is piss easy or anything. I'm not, that's not me as a character, but I felt like I didn't need to keep pushing or improving because we were already at the desired level that I thought we needed to be at. And I mean, if you use AFC Dunstan, for example, whilst BJ's, who's actually one of my really close friends, since school, whilst he's never going to be replaceable. If you do wait 5 or 6 weeks to replace a really important player, all of a sudden you can find yourself, 15, 16 points behind, which they are now. And And it's if your goal, and I'm not saying this is Dunstable goal, but I mean in general, if your goal is to maybe make playoffs or finish mid-table, you can kind of afford to give a bit of time, or vice versa. Obviously, I'm lucky with Linton, Paul, that I've got Blakey and Lacey that can play number 9s and them sort of players, so that helps. But if I got say I got an injury to a goalkeeper, I went and got one straight away, and it's up to him now to get back in. I just can't, we can't afford, and I learned it last year, we can't afford to take any chances and drop points and it's about having regrets, mate. I'm sure you had the same, Paul, after the playoff final, that because mine was a Tuesday night, when I woke up Wednesday morning after, zero sleep, it's, did I pick the right team? Did I plan right? Did I do this? That feeling just can't replicate. It just, and if it does, then this will be the last preview show you have, you see me on. I can't deal with that again, unfortunately.
But I tell you, Chris, the final's probably worse than the semi-final.
Yeah, agreed.
So you're right about being reactive. I've done that. I've made sure that I've tried to bring players in, and I am sitting on my moral laurels a little bit, and hence why a couple of 7 days have gone in this week. So let's see what happens. But I've got to start changing things. I understand that as a manager, been a manager a long time. So, but I've got to get it right. The club's grown, and we've got to make sure it keeps growing. So, and to think that we were so close to being in that promoted was for me was the worst feeling of football I've ever had.
Yeah.
I've said that before, but we can't sit on our laurels as managers. We have to keep. You might upset people, but you've got to start. If people ain't doing it, you've got to be sometimes a little bit ruthless. You know that, Chris. And I know I've got to do that. You've got to do that. And managers have got to do that. And hopefully, what I'm starting to do at the moment, it will work for me. But I do believe that the players I've got at the moment, though, are good enough to compete with teams. But Saturday was just a completely different story.
Well, listen, guys, we wish you all the very, very best for Saturday, and may the best team win. And thanks for joining us tonight. I know it's a short notice for both of you guys, and one's off for a steak, and I'm not sure what Chris is up to, but he'd probably be sitting down watching the Cristiano Ronaldo interview on Talk TV. But a massive thank you for both of you for joining us tonight, and as I said, wish you all the best at the weekend.
Thanks. Cheers, Saturday, Chris.
Yeah, mate. I've actually got a night ahead of me of watching Ware highlights, so I'll see you later. All the best, guys.
Of course, also this weekend we've got another big game in the league system this week, and it's going to be a real big one, isn't it, Josh? Paul Town against Western Supermare, and we did ask the Western Supermare to come on as well, but no one took up the invitation, unfortunately. But it's going to be a good game, and are you looking forward to it?
Yes, I am indeed. Yes, I believe Paul Town will get 3 points on Saturday away at Western Supermare.
So, is it a travel? Will you be there yourself?
No, I won't. No, I'm busy elsewhere. Yeah.
So I mean, with it though, tell us, is it a big game normally for Paul Town? Is it like a derby game, or is it a game that has got something on it, or is it a little bit spicy normally?
No, I'd say it's just a close Southern League 7th tier game, potentially because Western have got a very good and big fan base, and Paul Town also have a very good fan base as well. Both very loud, by the way, as well. But yeah.
So I mean, at the weekend, Paul have had a good start to the season, sitting 4th. But of course, Western Supermare, who you play at the weekend, they're up in 2nd place, and we have a couple of games in hand on you as well. So would you say it's important for the boys to win at the weekend because you want to close that gap on them?
Yes, I would agree with that. It is a must-win game on Saturday after we lost at Harrow Borough in the 94th minute last weekend, which annoyed a number of our fans. but also some of our other fans laughed it off really. But so yes, Western away, a massive win and a huge 3 points towards automatic promotion to the National League South next season.
Do you see, with Paul Town being in that, in the league as well? I mean, do you see Paul possibly making it up through, either automatic or maybe through the playoffs? This year.
Well, I mean, I would like the automatics as it's much easier to get up. The playoffs, there can be quite a few surprises in store for the 14 teams um, who go into the playoffs and think that they can go up, and one of them will go up. But Poole Town should really be automatics. Really, we've got the best fan base with loudest in the Southern League, Premier South, the seventh tier football. I don't think we've got any competition with that really, and we do need to go up. It's quite important as well.
Well, should we see what the boss says?
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
The boss is here. So, Tom, it's great to have you on. And we're just talking to Josh, and Josh is really excited about the game for the weekend. But I mean, for yourself, tell us a little bit about the game and, what are you expecting from it? As I said to Josh, we asked Western Supermare to come on, but they, no one took up the invitation. But it looks to me like it's a really big game for you with, fourth v second, and it should be a bit of a real humdinger of a game.
Yeah, I think so far Western and Truro have been the sort of standout teams, I think, in the league. And it's fair to say that I think the game takes on extra significance for us in terms of you never really want a gap to open up between, the teams, between you and the teams above you. And as I say, Truro and Western have been so good up until this point that we need to really try and peg them back a little bit. And Saturday's an opportunity for us to do that. But Western, the players they've got really, Scott's done a brilliant job there, I think, in assembling such a talented team, and it's going to be very hard to say the least. But we had a bit of a blip against Harrow, and we were disappointed with that. But on the whole, in recent weeks we've been doing quite well, so we don't go there with anything other than a real belief that we can get something.
And of course, you really could sort of like turn the table around a little bit with your 2 games back to back that you've got. Because I just looked at your fixtures, and of course it's Truro up after that. So you've got sort of 2 sort of real sort of, I suppose A games really, haven't you, in the space of a few days? And if you could get 6 points out of that, it would really sort of send the confidence flying.
Yeah, exactly that. Probably people will look at those fixtures and not be expecting too much. But from our point of view, because we've had a couple of indifferent results lately. We lost at Tiverton a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we've gone to Harrow and lost. So it's just so important that we bounce back, because, again, everyone would say the same, but there's probably 12 teams in the league that have got genuine ambitions, at least 12 perhaps, of trying to be promoted even at this stage of the season. So you can't afford to just keep dropping points, and we need to bounce back. And although it'll be tough, the motivation is there for us to do it.
And it is very tight, isn't it, in your league? The top 2, 39, 38, and then from yourself down, it's sort of 28, 27, 27, 27, 25. So it's a real sort of, like, as you just said there, you probably put it really into context. There's a lot of teams in there that are really sort of close together, just underneath, like Western and Truro.
Yeah, exactly that. And every week you look at the results in our league, and there's always 2 or 3 that that would surprise you. Even last night, absolutely no disrespect to Yate, but I expected Bracknell to beat Yate. Bracknell when we played them were really powerful, sort of talented side. They've had a great FA Cup run, and I expected them to beat Yate, and then Yate have gone. I think it was at Bracknell, and Yate have gone there and beat them. And so every time there's a fixture in our league, there's often surprises, and I think that's just testament to the strength in depth of the league. You can go to a team that's second bottom and and have an unbelievably hard game, and then it feels no different to sometimes to playing a team who's second from top. So it's very difficult, and I think that's why you can't get too despondent when you do drop points, because I think it's the nature of the league in that it will happen across the board, and you just have to keep belief and keep bouncing back when you do have disappointments.
And I mean, squad wise though, Tom, I mean, everything looking good. Have you got everybody fit, ready for the game, or have you still got a few injuries?
Yeah, we're not too badly off at the moment. Touch wood. We haven't got the biggest squad in the world, so if we do, that's probably where we at the moment would fall a little bit short of some of the other sides, in that we haven't got numerically. We're not blessed. So if I was missing sort of 2 or 3, that could quickly affect us quite significantly. But at the moment, we've been quite fortunate in that we've had the odd suspension. We've got a goalkeeper suspended for the last of 3 games on Saturday, but we haven't been too bad injury wise so far. It's not really been more than 1 or 2 for most of the matches, which you can cope with. It's when it gets 3 and 4 and above that it starts getting very difficult, particularly if you're not blessed with the biggest squad. So I think we're not too bad in terms of availability at the moment. We certainly can't use that as an excuse.
I mean, all fully prepared though. All the groundwork done for Western at the weekend, and I'll take it to players, and I know Josh is looking forward to it. But I mean, the players, the players really up for it.
Yeah, I think that if you're a player, you would look forward to a game against the likes of Western. It's a really good opportunity to sort of test yourself against the best players in the league. It's a good ground, there's good support, the pitch is always immaculate. It's one of the fixtures you would always, I would hope, as a player, look forward to. And the other thing that's been quite good is that we've not had a midweek game leading up to it, so we get a full week. We trained last night. We can be quite clear what we're working towards this week. It's just the fixture on Saturday. So we've got 2 training sessions to focus on it. In a way, the Truro game is more difficult in terms of your preparation, because obviously we just come straight out of Saturday, and then you're playing Truro. There's no training sessions to prepare. There's not, the information you can get into the players is much more limited. So there's no excuses though this week in terms of Western, because we got the whole week, 2 training sessions, and as a non-league club, you're never going to get more than that, really. So we hope that we are, putting ourselves in the best place possible to try and get something. But as I say, they're my most admired team in the league, Western. I just feel they got good players in every position. I like the way they play. I think Scott is undoubtedly, one of the best managers in the league. He's got a great sort of CV in terms of what he's done previously, and I think he's building something very, very, very good at Western. So I've got great respect and affection for Scott. He's somewhat funny enough, he was a player when I was assistant manager at Salisbury, so we go back a long way. So it's always good to see him. It's just, it will be competitive as soon as the whistle blows.
And I suppose when you look at those fixtures, and there's a question for yourself and a question for Josh, I suppose, same question. When you look at those fixtures now, and where you've got Western Supermare away, and then you play Truro at home, you must think those fixtures, God, dear me, could have done without that on Tuesday night.
Yeah, in a way, but the blessing with Truro is it's at home.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
If we were talking about, away at Western on Saturday, away at Truro on Tuesday, then I think we'd all be, we'd all be reaching for the Valium. But we at least, it's Truro going to have. I haven't looked to see who they've got on Saturday, but they've got to do the travelling on the Tuesday night. So I always think being at home in a midweek game is a much bigger advantage in non-league, particularly in non-league, than it is being at home on a Saturday, because it throws in all the practical sort of difficulties that non-league sides face in travelling midweek. So, I think that's a positive from our point of view in terms of it's Truro that face those difficulties rather than ourselves.
They've got Winchester City.
Is that at home?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I say, Tuesday night they've got to I don't know what time they'll be setting off. I would imagine they'll need to set off sort of up as 2-3 o'clock. You're looking at least 3 hours in the coach. Whereas for us, at least we can just turn up at the ground and be ready. So they're two amazingly tough fixtures, but like I say, it's just a bit of a blessing that Tuesday is at home, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, would you agree, Josh? You happy to be playing Truro at home on Tuesday?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. A trip to, well, Plymouth Parkway, which is Truro's home ground for now, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably save that Plymouth trip for January and not really this Tuesday. Yeah.
Which, I mean, those sort of trips, though, Tom, down to Truro and also down to Plymouth Pathway for the game. Are they the type of ones you really want to have sort of during the summer months, or the late early autumn months, rather than being in sort of January time, just in case you get to that situation where it gets called off on a Saturday and then you've got to traipse down there on a Tuesday night?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, personally, and I think the players would think the same, is that you expect to have to sort of do the travelling on a Saturday. You don't, everyone can cope relatively easily with a longish trip on a Saturday, but when you do have to do the midweek, it does cause problems. You've got to finish work early. You've got to, often got to sort of encounter sort of rush hour traffic, and then you can get back in the early hours of the morning, and everyone's got to get up for work. So I think it's the midweek away ones that everyone, looks at and not dreads, but they find it more difficult. But if you've got Truro away on a Saturday, whether that's winter, summer, you sort of get on with it. And I think for non-league players, the coach trip, can be used to be, a good opportunity for the players to sort of enjoy each other's company. Certainly when I was a player, I used to actually look forward to some of the longer Saturday coach trips because I thought, they were sort of good. They were good days. It's very serious in terms of what you're trying to achieve, but it's always enjoyable to be amongst your teammates. I think in that sort of environment, I would hope that's how most of the players will look at it.
And that's 28th of January when you've got to go down there, though. And you've only got to go down there one more time because you've already done Truro, so you've just got to go back down there to play Plymouth. Yeah,
and I think we've meant to be played Plymouth at home on a couple of occasions, but it keeps being called off for I think once potentially because they're in the trophy, and then they've had county cup games. So I think we're waiting for the home fixture to be fixed in terms of Plymouth, and that's likely to be sometime in January, but that will be midweek. And again, at least from our point of view, that's a midweek home game and not away.
Yeah, can I add on to that? And that is the 17th of January, Tom.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Josh. Good job. Good job you're here, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah.
I mean, what's from what I see on, from just a question more about the club or anything else, Tom, while you're on. I mean, one thing I sort of see on Twitter and Facebook and stuff when I see stuff from Paul Town, you seem to have a very, very loud and very, very good following as well, fans wise. I mean, when you go away to somewhere like Western-super-Mare, do you expect quite a bit of a following coming to Western at the weekend?
Yeah, I hope so. It's been interesting actually, because obviously I've been at the club, I don't know how many seasons it is now. I think it's getting on for 20. And when I came, the without sounding disrespectful, the average sort of age of our supporters was on the high side, if I can put it in that way. And in the last couple of years in particular, I think we've attracted, a lot more. A lot of our supporters are a lot younger, and they seem to be really enthusiastic. They're very passionate. They travel. I mean, Josh is a great example, and they pay money, hard-earned money, to sort of travel. They're very vocal at our away games. So it compared to sort of league clubs, obviously the numbers are very small, but I feel we can be proud of our supporters and the support we're getting home and away. And I think the players are very appreciative of it, because when you talk about fixtures you look forward to and fixtures that you look out for, I think as a player you always want to play in front of decent crowds where there's a bit of an atmosphere. You'd much rather, for me, say if we're going to Salisbury away, we'd always have a decent crowd. It's a nice ground and it's a really good atmosphere, and that's the sort of environment that you really look forward to, rather then again, without sounding disrespectful, you go to a club that's not very well supported at all, and it's just there's not many people there. There's no real atmosphere, and those are the games that I feel almost become a little bit more difficult. But certainly, you go to your Westerns, you go to your Salisbury's, when we play Dorchester as such, they'll all be very good atmospheres, and those are the ones that we really look out for. And our supporters play a big part in that. And I know they're, it's so disappointing when we've had these bad results, because I know the efforts that they go to. I mean, we went to Harrow on Saturday. A lot of them turned up, took a lot of trouble getting there, spent money, and they were met with a performance that wasn't really what it needed to be from our point of view. So, they certainly have days where their patience is tested, but hopefully Saturday at Weston we can give them a day out that they'll be happy with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Tom, massive thank you for joining us on the preview show tonight, and hopefully we can get you on the D&K repost show as well, non-league show in the near future as well on a Monday evening. But a massive thank you. I know you've only just come home from work, so massive thank you to you for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. And Josh, of course, as normal, brilliant. Keep up the good work, my friend, and hopefully we'll speak again very, very soon.
Okay, then. Thank you for the.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our interviews today with Paul Town, of course, Josh and Tom, and of course as well from Ware, Paul Halsey, the manager there, and of course also Chris Devane from Berkhamsted. Wishing them all the very, very best for the weekend. Don't forget, we'll be here every single Friday evening on the Southern League YouTube channel. Please let people know we're here. Also, as well, please make sure you hit that button to subscribe and like and spread the news that we're here trying to promote your clubs for you through the Southern League YouTube channel. Of course, if you're interested and you want to come and join me and help me present the show in Steve's absence for the time being, give me a shout up on social media and we'll see what we can do. But until next week, a massive thank you for all of our guests this week, and get well soon, Steve, and we'll see everybody next week.